Going to a music conference with 60,000 other people and seeing Stevie Wonder walk right by me, reading a couple of books from the read-along, and working on some fantasy book-related music projects. Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is the weekly Reading Roundup for the week ending January 26th, 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer now, also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released psychological horror film, Dead Whisper. So, a fantastic week, my friends. Reading-wise, work-wise, music-wise. Everything was covered this week. So let's talk a little bit about it. I love doing these weekly reading roundups with you all because it's kind of a weekly update that I can tell you a little bit about what's been going on in my life, my reading life as well. And I always invite you to join in on the conversation, whether it be in the comments, in the Discord, on the Fable app as we read some of these read-alongs. Talk about your week. Talk about your reading life. I would love to know more from you because we have traded some fantastic book recommendations on this channel and this community we're growing here. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. Definitely watch through the whole thing if you can, or at least have it on in the background, as it always helps the YouTube God's algorithm push it out to the right people who would want to see this. So without further ado, let's jump into what I read first. So as I mentioned, I had finished a couple of the books from our read-along. The first book that I finished was Speaks the Nightbird, an 800 and something page tome by Robert McCammon. Genius author, one of the most underrated authors in my opinion of his generation. If you like Stephen King, as I do, as you can see from my whole shelf dedicated to the man back there, you will absolutely love Robert McCammon. I read Boy's Life, a coming-of-age story with a mystery murder element, and Swan Song, a post-apocalyptic kind of thriller, and I loved both of them, and I wasn't sure he could reach those heights again, because those two would be on my top 10 books of all time in any genre. So I was excited, cautiously optimistically cautious about diving into Matthew Corbett's series, which takes place, the first book, Speaks the Nightbird, takes place in 1699 during kind of the witch trials and things like that, about 7 years after the supposed, Salem witch trials. And Matthew Corbett is working as a private investigator, kind of a clerk for this magistrate who's investigating this witch. Matthew Corbett doesn't seem quite convinced that she is guilty. So he launches an investigation of his own, much to the chagrin of all the people around him, including the magistrate. So how did this book stack up? So I finished it. Do you ever have this thing where you're reading multiple books at a time, and then there's a couple that just kind of start taking over, and you feel like, as a mood-based reader, it's kind of nice to just continue on that train and see what happens. So that's kind of what happened to me this week. I've been reading 4 books kind of concurrently, and I've been enjoying all of them. But sometimes the book's natural flow kind of dictates what you want to be reading next. So I just found myself riveted by this book, and by kind of the twists and turns it takes. I think I even got to the 90% mark, and I felt like, how is this going to resolve? And I was very interested from the get-go, and I felt like throughout as well. I don't feel like there was any real slow parts. I think it is a slow burn mystery. But I think it's kind of evenly paced throughout, if that makes sense. So the mystery unfolds over time. There's a lot of different twists and turns, but it does kind of, the characters, how do I put it? Characters kind of unfold as the pages turn. So I really loved Matthew Corbett's character. I hated, Exodus Jerusalem, the guy who comes to town to make trouble, and some of the other characters. I don't want to give too much away because I want you to kind of figure out for yourself who's kind of the good guy, the bad guy, etc., etc. So yeah, I really feel like Robert McCammon writes his characters in a visceral, kind of real, grounded way, that he can take something that is very absurd, like even a guy named Exodus Jerusalem, right, and make him believable and make his motivations real and stark. So I gotta say, I love Robert McCammon. If you haven't read Robert McCammon, is this a good place to start? So that depends. Do you want a 10-book series? Because this is book 1 of a 10-book series. Now, Good news is they're kind of more anthology based. Like the second book is not related to the plot points of this first, but it has some of the same characters, right? So if you don't mind that, this is a great place to start. If you want a standalone Boy's Life in Swan Song, for sure. But I would say, I would rank this as a 4.5 out of 5 stars easily. I think it's very close to a 5-star book for me, and I'm so glad I read it. I can't wait to read Queen of Bedlam. I think is the second novel that we're going to be reading on our channel here as part of the read along. It's a soft read along we're doing. So if you haven't caught up, or if you're just hearing about this now and you want to join, we're going to have some break months. So after the second book, we're going to have a break month. So basically, presumably for people who are starting late, they have a chance to catch up. That's what this is all about, is nobody should feel excluded or left behind if they want to join. So the way you can join is a couple ways. You could join just by joining our Discord channel, which is about 59 strong. Down below, you can find that. You can join the Fable app, and you can kind of go chapter by chapter and have discussions with people there. And kind of just stay subscribed to this channel and see as updates come, because I'm going to be doing standalone reviews for some of these, more in-depth discussions, maybe with some other booktubers as well. So very excited about all that. But let's move on to the second book that I completed. So the second book is part of our official channel read-along. So again, for those of you who aren't aware, we are reading the entire Malazan Book of the Fallen, starting with Gardens of the Moon. This was our read for January. We're going to be reading the second book, Dead House Gates, in February, and then the third one in March, and then take another break month. Again, presumably for people to catch up if they so choose. So I finally finished this one. I had read this about 4 years ago maybe, during Mike from Mike's Book Reviews Malazan read along. Now, I stopped after book 2. I kind of got a few pages into book 3 and I stopped. But it wasn't because I didn't like it. It was actually because it's a very daunting series, and I had a lot of stuff work-wise going on at the time, and I didn't feel like I could keep up. So as I was falling behind, I made the decision to table it for another time. Well, that time is now. 2025 is the year of the read-along and the year of Malazan Book of the Fallen. So, this is a military fantasy. Steven Erikson drops you right into the world with very little info dumping and explanation, backstory, and that kind of thing. You're kind of forced to figure out the characters' motivations as you go. Now, this is the shortest book at 600 and something pages. But it is no less complex, I've heard from the other books of Malazan. In fact, it is probably one of the more disjoint books of the series. So people say this is kind of the lower point of the series, but it's only upwards from here. I'm excited to see how that compares for me, but I am rereading this after 4 years, and I gotta say, my fantasy vocabulary is so much better now than it was before. My reading retention is so much better now than it was before, because, over the last 4 years, I've probably read like almost 200 books, right? So I have gotten so much out of this. I feel like I really love the characters. I think, typically I get whiplash when there's too much POV switches. I felt this in couple of the newer Stormlight Archive books. There was a lot of quick switching of POVs. That kind of gives me whiplash typically. But in this, I didn't feel that way, because you're not getting a ton of info dumping. So you're kind of forced to figure things out. Characters' motivations are a bit more subtle, in that sometimes a character will be acting in accordance with how you'd expect them to. Suddenly they make a hard left turn and they do something that it feels like, wait, aren't they like betraying their own side right now? But then you start to realize there is no real side. There's just different sides. It's not like a good side and a bad side, I mean. So, and that becomes more clear over time as you kind of get to know these characters. So I was very impressed with how much I understood of it the second time around, and also how much I'm excited to check out Dead House Gates. So have you read this along with us? Let me know in the comments, and I would love to know what you think about this and how it ranks for you. And for any Malazan or Malazan veterans out there, if you have an opinion, strong opinion one way or another, would love to chat with you all about it, because I think, one thing I love about the Malazan community is everybody has strong opinions, but they're very supportive of each other's reading journeys. So feel free to join us on the Discord, Fable, or, on this channel to kind of stay up to date with these read-alongs. I also have a read-along calendar, by the way. that I put at the description of every video, because I want you to be able to feel like you can easily access one document that I put together by month, so you can see what we're reading along each month. And you can focus on one series or multiple. We have a few people doing multiple. I'm doing all four because I love you guys and I want to be a part of all the discussions, even at the sacrifice of my sleep. But that's okay. That's what we do for Booktube, right? So those were the two I completed. Now, what else did I read? So I continued on this magnificent book, Jenny Wirtz's Curse of the Mistwraith. What a beautiful illustration. I will always talk about how beautiful this illustration is every video because it really is that stunning. And Jenny Wirtz did it herself. So just love it. I'm about maybe 200 pages into this now. And I've been taking my time with it because trying to read these two back to back, probably not the best idea. And trying to switch between them, probably not the best idea. I think they both deserve 100% of the effort. So I gotta say, like, Lycier's motivations, very interesting. Erathon's motivations, very interesting. Out of the two, Erathon is definitely my favorite, personal favorite. But I get the feeling, this book starts off with a kind of the Wars of Light and Shadow, right? So there's the prince basically represents light and his half-brother, Master of Shadow, Erathon, right? So you would expect that there's some more cut and dry morality issues at play here, but you kind of start to realize early on that nothing is as what it seems. And I'm at a point now where I'm going to give a full in-depth review of this, by the way, spoiler-free and with some spoilers, which I'll timestamp later on when I finish this book. So I'm going to keep it to a minimum right now, but only to say that everything I'm seeing, like, I'm loving to see the wider world get kind of developed as the pages are turning now. And you're kind of seeing the dynamics between the two half-brothers is evolving. And I'm really, really enjoying that. I think Jenny Wirtz has some of the best prose in the business. Gorgeous cascading lines that, kind of flow into each other, yet push the narrative and character structure forward. And some of the most subtlest characters. And I think that's why it deserves some really good concentrated reading time. So I'm excited to continue on this. And let's kind of talk a little bit about what I'm going to read this week, because that's a continuation of this. Is I'm going to finish this. So I'm going to put 100% of my effort into this as first priority, because now I can dive fully in. I've gotten 2 of our read-along books out of the way. And, well, actually 3 if you count the novella For the Bound and the Broken by Ryan Cahill. Read-along number 3 we're doing. And this is 4th read-along we're doing, the soft read-along. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of diving in, losing myself in the pages, as Jenny Wirtz's books are wont to do. So I'm really looking forward to checking this out. I will be putting that review up at some point, probably in the next couple weeks. So you all can get a taste of this journey if you want to start it as well. And of course, you can join us if you want to start sooner in the Fable app and the Discord. We are also doing this one every other month because they are denser, so more people can join in if they so choose. But loving the journey so far, so glad I'm reading that. So I'm going to continue on this one. The other book I have on my Kindle, actually, so I'm putting up a thumbnail here, and it's by Sean Bobby Kerr, his debut fantasy novel, adventure fantasy, little whimsical, but equally parts dark, A Journey Thrice Begun. So I have read maybe about 60, 70 pages of this so far, and I gotta say, it's the perfect tonal balance to something like Malazan Book of the Fallen or Wars of Light and Shadow. This has a little bit more of a dense feel to it, whereas A Journey Thrice Begun has a little bit more of a accessible fall into the world immediately kind of a feel. Not to say that this isn't fall into the world at all, because it is. It's just in a different way, right? It's a different approach to the writing and the character development, but it's just nice to have those two as a balance. So I'm definitely going to continue with that one. Now, trying to read both of these and finish them before February 1st might be a tall order. So I'm going to give priority to, of course, Jenny Wirtz's magnificent Curse of the Mistwraith, and I'm going to read as much as I can of A Journey Thrice Begun. And I'm really excited to see where the characters go from here. I am going to continue that into the first couple of days of February, probably, and give that first priority so I can finish that off and then start my February TBR a couple days late. But hey, better late than ever, right? So that is what's on deck for this coming week. Now, let's talk a little bit about channel updates. So we are at, as of this taping, 971 subscribers. 971 of you decided to follow along the journey. So many of you are in the Discord now and are actively talking in the comments. all I could ask for and more, you know? I mean, really, with this channel, I wanted to create a community that loves to read books together. So I'm so grateful you all have joined. And, you know, to that point, if you happen to know a friend that really likes reading or wants to get more into reading and wants a safe space to be able to talk about the books they love, please share this channel with them. You know, word of mouth is really the way to get this kind of a thing out there. And if you like what this community is building, I hope you will help pass that forward. So we have 971 subs right now. And I released 2 videos this last week. So I released the February TBR. I released it about a week early so that if any of you want to join in on those and kind of read alongside us, then you can feel free to do so. By us, I mean either the read alongs or a couple buddy reads I also got planned. So that video you can access up here. The second video I did was a kind of a bookish resolutions video. So the idea being, you know, I had narrowly escaped from the LA wildfires. Our place is intact, but it got a little close, and it got me thinking about the stuff we have in our places, you know, that we accumulate over time. In my case, it's my musical instruments, book collections and stuff. And I think about, like, what would have happened if I'd lost it all? I would have had to replace it, but what would I replace? Would I replace it all? Probably not. And it got me kind of going down the rabbit hole of thought and thinking about, as a thought experiment, what would I do to change the way I approach reading, to keep things fun, to read the books I want to read more and be more engaged with you and the other aspects of my life. So it's kind of a planting the flag in the sand to kind of say, this is what I want to do with my life on Booktube, and, you know, where I see the channel going from here. So definitely check that out if you want to be privy to some of that. And I would love to also hear your thoughts. You know, as I'd mentioned in that video, please mention what you have as your resolutions on deck, because that's the fun thing. You know, we all grow together, right? We grow as individuals, we grow as a community, we kind of learn from each other. And so hopefully we can continue to do that. So feel free to check that out if you would like to. So as far as the channel schedule for this week, I'm going to do 2 more videos. It's going to be a little tricky because on Saturday, I'm going to be going up north to visit my parents, and my sister, her husband, and my nephew, who's now a year and a half, is going to be there as well. Linda and I are going to drive up, and it's going to be the first time we're all reunited together. So that'll be really lovely. But, you know, it's going to maybe throw a wrench in some of these video plans, or I'll just have to shift things around so I can film them in time and have them auto-scheduled. But my plan right now is to do 2 videos. One is the adaptation news episode 4. So for those of you who don't know, I do these adaptation news segments where I let you know about your books for the big and small screen, where they're being adapted, how far they are in the pipeline. As I mentioned, I write a lot for film and TV. I specialize in book adaptations, so working on The Wheel of Time, working on the official companion album for Lightbringer, you know, the series by Brent Weeks, working on his Dark Materials. I've become more privy to inside information in the sense of not necessarily NDA'd information, but just stuff that is not widely publicly available, but that is public, so to speak, about where projects are in the pipeline. And sometimes it's nice to know on the ground floor, like, hey, they're saying that this thing is stalled in this particular way. What does that actually mean? When can we actually expect something? Have there been updates behind the scenes we may not know about? So I want to always shed light on that kind of stuff as well. So you could check out actually one of the previous updates that I'm posting up here as well if you want to kind of check out that segment as well. So that's going to be the first video. The second video is going to be a monthly read-along wrap-up, kind of a, I guess, augmented segment from my usual monthly wrap-up videos, because we're doing 4 read-alongs on the channel, so I'm going to give little mini reviews of each book and kind of talk about my thoughts in that video segment. And then, of course, for stuff like Mistwraith, I'm going to give a little bit more of an in-depth analysis, stuff like Gardens of the Moon, that kind of thing, because I want you to, you know, have more related to those to dive into. So that's the plan for this week. I also want to let you know, I got a chance over the weekend, and I'm not sure exactly when this is going to be posted, but I'll keep you posted on one of the community posts or something like that. And then, of course, on Discord. So I got a chance to talk with Britton, the channel Some Okie Dude. Wonderful chat. We chatted for over 2 hours about all things books, music, just everything. You know, we got a chance to chat about so many different topics, about my career as a composer, and that's going to be on his channel. So, buddy, thank you so much for having me on your channel, man. Like, we could have talked for hours longer. I know we both had stuff to do that day. Otherwise, we would have talked longer than the 2 hours we talked. But we really had a lot to talk to, you know, with each other. So very grateful for that conversation, and of course I'll keep you all posted as we kind of finalize when that will be posted. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the music front. So I always love to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my personal life, kind of music life, because some of that stuff is tangentially related to the books, as you'll see in the segment. So first of all, I finished the music for The Conduit, the short film proof of concept that I'm both producing and composing on. Very excited for people to hear that. The film is going to be submitted to some film festivals, but it is also being shopped around right now, along with the feature script, to some studios in Hollywood to try to see if we can get it made. And because I'm a producer and composer, it'll be fun to have those conversations with the executives directly, and kind of be involved in all stages of the process as it unfolds. So I'll keep you all posted, but for now, we are doing the victory lap for kind of reaching this milestone, because this is a tough one to reach. And kind of get things ready. So I'm excited for you to see that, and I'll keep you posted when it's available. The second thing is I did some more of the Idan trilogy official main theme for Philip Chase's beautiful Idan trilogy, which is actually on sale right now. Each book is 99 cents each. In celebration of his Broken Binding release for The Way of Idan. So I'm posting the links to that below in case you want to check those out, because fantastic series. I fell in love with his characters. I feel like Dayraven's story arc, the spiritual aspects of fantasy and kind of Eastern philosophy that he kind of puts into these books, really unique in the world of fantasy. And yet it's also Tolkien and Beowulf inspired Norse fantasy. It's just really great. But anyways, I'm doing an official main theme for his particular series in conjunction with future Broken Binding special edition releases. So very excited about that. Going to gear up for some live recording, but we'll keep you posted when we can share something definitive with that. And then last bit of news is on my end. I went to the NAMM show. The NAMM show is like, tens of thousands of musicians, composers, music supervisors, gear enthusiasts. They all show up in Anaheim, which is close to Disneyland in Southern California. And, it's like a 4 or 5 day affair, and I went for 2 of the days, hung out with my friend Jordan, who's a wonderful piano player from New York, one of my closest friends who I've met at music conferences since 2011. So it's been a while that we've known each other, and we got a chance to spend some quality time together and just try out some new instruments. I got a chance to play like a $300,000 Fazioli piano, and it was been a dream for me to even see one up close, let alone play it. So you can check that video out here if you so choose. But I just really, it was a very enlightening week. I'm very tired, I'm very peopled out, and I'm actually very talked out. But whenever I get a chance to talk to you all, I get very excited, and I got particularly excited, and it gives me energy that I normally wouldn't have. So I appreciate you all being here. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of video. Again, it always helps out the channel. Share it with your friends. And I'm going to leave a link right here to the February TBR video in case you want to be privy to that and want to jump on some read-alongs with us. But in the meantime, as I always say, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And I hope you have a wonderful start to the week, y'all. I will see you on Wednesday with a new video. Take care.